Hi, I'm Beverly Holden, and I've been sharing my journey of leaving the church and embracing spirituality. So, today I'd like to talk about sin. When I was in the church, I believed heavily in sin. I believed that it was real, that I was a sinner, that Jesus had to die for my sins, and there was a lot of guilt. So, now, after studying A Course in Miracles, I'm understanding more about the concept of sin and the belief in it. And what I'm understanding is that sin is a strong conviction that the mind can attack, not the body, but the mind can attack. And therefore, the mind is guilty. And of course, guilt always demands punishment. And what must be punished must be true. And yeah. But let's look at mistakes, sin versus mistakes. So, the Son of God, you understand we're all sons of God. We can make mistakes and they can be corrected. And the Holy Spirit would never teach us that we're sinners. He would show us our mistakes and show them the purpose of them. And mistakes are always a call for love. So, let's look at our responsibility for how we see the world and how we see ourselves. Everything that seems to happen to me happens because I asked for it, and the answer was given as I requested. I make my world. I perceive if I looked at the world as merciless, it's because that's what I made it to be. If the holy see the world as beautiful, they see the innocence in it. And just talking about sin, how we think, how we can deceive ourselves. So I can believe that I'm a sinner. I can believe that I'm less than, or I can believe that I'm something different than what God made. And I can correct that belief. It doesn't make it real. So the beautiful thing about what God creates, it's eternal. So God created us innocent. And what God makes, what God creates, is innocent, is eternal, is changeless, is truth, is reality. We can't change it. We were created innocent and will always be innocent. And even when we choose to believe otherwise. And just as it's important for me to recognize that I create my world and that I can make mistakes and I can deceive myself. But it's also important for me to recognize, for us to recognize, that I didn't make myself. And you didn't make yourself. We were created by God. So the things that I make, they can change. They're based on my beliefs, my thoughts, especially how I see myself. Every decision that I make is based on how I see myself. Every decision I make represents the value I place on myself, and that can change from day to day. There are sometimes I see my innocence, I see and believe who I am and truth, and I create beautiful scenarios. And there are days when I forget. But those days that I forget of who I truly am doesn't change anything. Because I didn't create me, God created me, and God created me innocent. And whether I choose to believe it or not, that's the truth. So the good news is that there is no sin, But I am responsible for how I see myself and how I see the world, and I can change it. And I can make mistakes. I can deceive myself and make mistakes, but I can correct them too. But I can also understand that God created me and that doesn't change, that that's real and that's truth. There is no sin, and there's nothing to ever feel guilty about. So oftentimes we don't want to look within because we're afraid we'll see sin. We're afraid we'll see our shadows. But what if today we looked within and saw no sin? What if today we chose to love ourselves unconditionally and believe what God says we are? What if we believe God, that I'm innocent, so are you? Thank you for joining me today. I hope you will next time.